Hi everyone, welcome. Come on in, take a seat and let's chat. No niceties, no I'm well, how are yous this morning? We are going to jump right in and talk. First, I see there are rumours that Charles and William are in intense talks about stripping Harry's titles. Now I'm curious, how many of you actually believe that? I don't, and let me tell you why. I think what to do with Harry is a constant issue and pops up in many meetings, formal and informal. I don't think there are intense talks about Harry right now. I tried to get hold of my one trusted source, but nothing. Either he is busy or he does not know or won't tell, even if he knew. So I'm just going to go on my gut and taking into consideration who this story is coming from. And sorry, I don't particularly like this so-called royal expert. Tom Quinn often appears to suck stories from his thumb, and the more salacious, the better. I don't know, he just seems to give his opinion as fact from time to time. But never mind. I think I mentioned Tom Quinn before and that I'm not a particular fan of his. I think that there will not be any movement on pretty much anything until after the general election in July. I mean, we all know that if a certain party comes in, Meghan and Harry will likely be deemed heroes. But let's move on. In any event, if Tom Quinn said, talking about royal titles, then maybe, but he spoke about the ducal title and do not seem to know the difference between a royal and a peerage title. Anyway, what I actually wanted to tell you comes from someone I have not heard from in a long time. She says the headlines in publications such as the New York Post and the Daily Yang, that says a lot, has indeed reached Harry and Meghan, and apparently, allegedly, Meghan said that the royal family are welcome to remove the titles. They don't care. They will still do what they are doing and how they are doing it. Apparently, Harry wholeheartedly agrees with her, and in the same conversation, he apparently, allegedly, said he does not need the titles. So, according to Tom Quinn, the King and William are terrified of stripping the Sussexes of their titles. According to Tom Quinn, the King and William believe that such an act could backfire. Now, two things about that. Mr. Quinn is clearly a little behind on the latest news, as a poll by the Express 2 days ago showed 95% of their readers in favour of the titles being stripped. Only 4% are against and 1% don't know, are not sure, or don't care, I guess. So how can the king not listen to the majority? Why is he pandering to the small minority? That is, if Tom Quinn is indeed right about them being terrified. Anyway, why would the king or William fear such a minority? However, I do think the king is fearful of the backlash, because God alone knows what Harry knows about his father that we don't already know. I mean, we know that Charles cooperated with Dimbleby to write a book which slagged off his parents. We know he cheated on his wife, and we know he traded cash for honours. So what else can there be? Remember, Harry walked the halls and corridors of the castles, and he likely knows every little bit of gossip. Thus, is the king fearful of another, more devastating expose, a Spare 2.0? I mean, Harry has threatened and said that the number of pages cut from the book could make another book. Of course, we also know that the minority, those who Stan, Meghan and Harry, or just Meghan, are the loudest, the rudest, and the most aggressive. So I guess there could be fear in that as well. Quinn also said that William and Catherine are very concerned over Harry and Meghan's increasing closeness to Beatrice and Eugenie. He states, and I quote, William and Kate, well, no, sir, she is Catherine to you, are reportedly uneasy over the growing closeness between Harry and Meghan and Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. For William and Kate, an alliance between Harry and Meghan and Beatrice and Eugenie is a huge worry. Oi. Someone watched way too much YouTube, I think. There is no alliance between Harry and Meghan and anyone in the royal family, at least not anymore. Beatrice has never, ever gone along with the Meghan and Harry hype, has never taken any sides, and has never been friends with the couple either. Eugenie, the younger sister, was friendly with them as a couple and had always been close to Harry. But something happened, and at some point before the coronation, there had been an argument of some sort, because not only did I hear from a fairly reliable source that Eugenie distanced herself from the Harkles, but Eugenie's body language during the coronation spoke volumes. I also think her Instagram post after the garden party hosted by William, in which she stated how happy she was to support family, was indeed a very, very clear message to Harry and Meghan. Arthur Edwards also spoke about the friendship between Harry and Eugenie recently, and I think he is indeed someone who knows Harry and knows members of the royal family very, very well. So quite frankly, I'm more likely to take his word over that of Mr. Quinn, who is in the business of selling books with salacious titles, an older version of Mr. Scobie, in my humble opinion. But let's leave that there for now and move on a few paces. I recently had a DM from a subscriber, and she asked a very interesting question. She asked whether I thought all this BS being spread by Harry and his team, that the nasty king won't allow him to stay in a royal residence and cannot make time for him, his younger son, is all a load of hogwash and has nothing to do with their relationship or security, but instead with Harry's drug use. And you know what? I think she has a point and may very well be right. I mean, I actually owe King Charles an apology, and of course you folks, because I was very verbal and perplexed about Harry not being able to stay in a royal residence or see his father. And then, to my embarrassment, we learned that the king did offer accommodation. And if Harry stayed there and was closer to the king, he would likely have seen his father. Or so they say. It still sounds a little iffy to me. Something even missing in that particular version. But what if the king, not as king, but as Harry's father, for once in his life, was a real dad who said to his son, "Son, my darling boy, as much as I love you, I cannot allow you to stay in a royal residence unless you take a drug test and test clean within 24 hours before your arrival." and allow staff to search your luggage. As your father, I also do not wish to be in your company unless you are 100% sober. I mean, wouldn't that make sense? I think it would. Imagine the scandal and headlines. £1,000 worth of illegal substances found in St. James's Palace bathroom, or £10 of marijuana found in a stairwell in Buckingham Palace, or, anything like that. Imagine. Also, it is almost normal that people going through withdrawal can misbehave. So imagine if Harry is not allowed any substances for, say, 48 hours. He may break something valuable in the palace or say things to his father or staff, which perhaps he shouldn't. I can imagine all kinds of funny and not so funny scenarios. I honestly think this is a very good possibility. And of course, they won't tell us the truth. Of course, they, particularly Harry, will hide the truth. He's not going to tell the world, hey, I can't stay in a palace because I'm not allowed to take my stash. No, he's not. Instead, he will say that he is not given security and it is way too public at the palace. And talking about Harry's drug use, we are not slandering him by talking about it. He himself exposed it. Anyway, talking about that, why the heck is the Biden administration allegedly begging and pleading with the court to keep Harry's issues a secret? Why? I would assume that it would be in the best interest of the country and its people to keep drug users out of your country and away from your children. I would think that in terms of an upcoming election, it would look good to be seen as being fair and not give anyone, let alone the rich elite, any kind of preferential treatment. I do not understand the reasoning of the Biden administration. It makes absolutely no sense. Maybe it has something to do with the president's own son and his particular issues. Maybe Biden and his administration are afraid of being called hypocrites. I do not understand how releasing the information to the Heritage Foundation is actually infringing on Harry's privacy. Number one, Harry infringed on his own privacy. He himself wrote about his drug use. He himself spoke about his drug use openly on television and in numerous interviews. Secondly, if Harry broke federal law in the United States, then the question is whether he is entitled to that kind of privacy and cover-up. Anyone else being caught with certain drugs or a certain amount of drugs would likely be arrested. And there's no law preventing their mugshot from appearing in a newspaper. Or the likelihood is that if we are talking about a foreigner, he will be deported. So I honestly do not know what the argument is all about. If Harry lied on his visa application, he should be treated like anyone else. Otherwise, what is the purpose of a political party interfering with its judiciary, its legal system, and more than that, protect its unlawful elite to the detriment of the rest of their voters and the public? Something else I picked up on is that so-called royal experts or royal reporters seem to be confused as to whether Harry is still using drugs. Are you kidding me? He said in so many words on a talk with Gabor Mate that certain substances makes him see things more clearly and form a big part of his life. In his book, he also writes about rolling a joint at Tyler Perry's home. Goodness, I don't know what's up with these people. Are they such huge bootlickers that they will compromise their own reputation in order to protect an ex-royal? Anyway, guys, I think it's time for me to go. I thank you for your time and spending it with me. Tomorrow is our general election day and a public holiday, thus no school. But Dragon Man is writing at least 3 subjects he has to really buckle down for after the public holiday. So we will be knee-deep in schoolwork tomorrow. No rest for the wicked. Okay, guys, please take good care of yourselves until we meet right back here again, hopefully tomorrow or the day after. Bye.